see people sleeping on the street the whole time.
European countries, they are old. Africa is young.
We haven't taken our camera out more than once.
You can go on safari. It's painful to witness that, to be aware of that and to live in it. So before we dive in, it's important that you know that this is our subjective experience of living here. Because we, of course, have our own particular background. We come from Europe, and in the last 2 years we've spent a lot of time living in Southeast Asia. So that is kind of the context that we know, and that's the context that we brought over when we came to Cape Town, and also the view with which we are, making our observations. So let's start with the first reason why Cape Town could obviously be one of the best cities in the world to live in, and that is its natural beauty. Once you arrive in the city, you will immediately notice how incredibly stunning this place is. You have the ocean, a beautiful coastline, but you also have, for some reason, the mountains right next to them. So wherever you are, on the beach or in the middle of the city, you always have these towering, beautiful mountains like in your background, and they look amazing, right?
Definitely one of the prettiest landscapes we've ever seen, I would say, we've ever lived in.
100%. It's really magical to live in a place that looks like this. And it's really inspiring too, I think. And besides the view, you can also enjoy this environment. There's so many activities related to the outdoors here. I mean, we ourselves went sailing a lot. That was awesome. We saw whales while sailing. The wildlife is incredible.
Dolphins, seals as well.
Yeah, you can go kayaking with those animals and see them around you. You can go diving or snorkeling. And then we haven't even covered, going into the mountains and hiking. 1 hour away from this city, you can go on safari and see the Big Five. How insane is that?
Yeah, that's great.
That is just really what makes Cape Town unique, I think. On the other hand, there is also a sort of downside to that, which we will cover at the end of the video when we're going to look at some of the downsides of living here. I think our next kind of favorite thing about Cape Town is how diverse it is, right?
Yeah.
I think this country has something like 12 official languages. That really reflects how many different groups of people are living in this country together. So being in it is really cool. You learn a lot about different kind of cultures.
Rainbow Nation, right?
The Rainbow Nation, yeah. Why is that interesting? Because societies that have more diversity usually are more interesting because they're more like different opinions, different perspectives, different cultural backgrounds. That is usually what a society thrives on. The question though is that happening in South Africa? Is that happening in Cape Town? And that's something we want to touch upon later in the video as well. Another thing I wanted to add to this part of the video is that I feel like, personally, I learned so much about history, especially human history, by living here. Just by visiting the different, really interesting neighborhoods that Cape Town has to offer, you learn so much about the local history of this place. For example, we visited the Bokap neighborhood, which most people know as the neighborhood with the beautiful, colorful houses, on Instagram. But there is actually a massive story behind why those houses are so colorful.
The history is very interesting to learn and partially very sad, I would say, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is something we'll touch upon later as well, because when it comes to the Rainbow Nation, I feel like South Africa definitely hasn't figured it all out yet, how to live together, because of this painful history. But let's touch upon that in a bit.
One thing we definitely noticed here was how much there is going on. Like, for everything that interests you, there are like groups of people meeting up. So
Yeah.
Especially at the start when we joined these things, it was like every day we had like something to do, which was actually really fun. There's like so many different running clubs, for example, trail running clubs, or a group of entrepreneurs meeting up. Any sports you want to do, you will find people. If you want to go hiking, or if you want to go like surfing or kite surfing, I'm sure there's also tons of communities.
I guess our point is that if you come to Cape Town, even by yourself, you don't have to worry about finding friends, because there are so many groups, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, that will connect you to people, mostly via your hobbies, you know. And then there are the digital nomad WhatsApp groups, where you can meet other nomads via events. For example, First Thursday, that's a huge one, right? When the art galleries open and people go and have drinks in the city. Social life is huge here. The next thing we want to highlight is Cape Town as a cosmopolitan city, a cosmopolitan place to be. Because Cape Town isn't just beautiful, it's also a very convenient city to live in, with what I would call like a modern day lifestyle and easy day-to-day conveniences, such as ordering groceries. That has been quite a perk of living here, for us at least.
Yeah.
There's so many places where you can go and eat out as well. A ton of dining options. And it's not just South African food, it's mostly international cuisine. So you can eat dishes from all around the world in this city. I would also say that Cape Town has a very international outlook as well. There are many, many people from all over Africa that came to Cape Town and that you will meet here. At the same time, there are many Europeans as well.
I mean, you see a lot of Germans here.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Just a couple of months ago, Cape Town was also named the most affordable luxury destination. That is another element of living in this city, that you can experience a lot of luxury when it comes to dining, fine dining, or going to spas and having that experience. And it's for a reasonable price, right? We experienced that ourselves when we went fine dining for the first time at La Colombe.
It was great.
Cape Town is also, I think, a very creative and innovative city. It has to do something with like the vibe or energy that is here. A lot of people don't realize this, but Africa is kind of the youngest continent in the world right now in terms of the age of its citizens, you know? So when you compare that to American or European countries, they are old, but Africa is young, it's booming, it's rising, and you feel that energy definitely in Cape Town as well. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems very bustling and it's very busy everywhere, so that's really nice.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool kind of city and kind of lifestyle to be part of and to experience. So that is definitely a plus about Cape Town.
You just saw how it got dark for a second while Marilla was speaking. It's the paragliders that always go down from Signal Hill, keep casting shadows in our room, so maybe that'll happen again.
It's another thing we forgot to mention. You can go paragliding just over the city. How crazy is that?
If you have an active lifestyle, there's a ton of stuff to do for you here.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
In fact, you will get an active lifestyle once you live here, I think. But again, also there, we want to make a counterpoint. So we've highlighted our 4 most favorite points. Let's move on to the second part of the video, where we share some of the downsides of living here. One of the reasons why we live this lifestyle is because it gives us so much freedom. We can go and live wherever we want, and we love it. So freedom of movement is a huge thing for us, an important thing for us, on which we base, where we go next. In Cape Town, I would definitely say that your freedom of movement can be a bit restricted based on, what you want to get out of the city. We mentioned before, the natural beauty is like an amazing aspect of living here. But you are kind of restricted in to what extent you can enjoy that, because You cannot just go into the mountains by yourself. When we walk out of our door here and look to the right, we see the beautiful Signal Hill rising just 100 meters away from us. And it always feels so tempting. I would love to go into the mountains and go for a nice hike. But it's not a good idea to do that by yourself. And the reason why is simply because it's not safe. You're gonna get wet. Looks like we're in for a bit rougher weather today. Mountains are covered in mist or fog or something. It's so beautiful, but I don't always feel like I can just enjoy it. You know, there's a lot of rules involved.
We hear so much conflicting information, right? Like, you can go in a group of two, or you shouldn't go in a group of two, or you should always just keep your wits about you. But it's kind of it's really hard for me to judge, what is keeping my wits about me, right? And today we were advised not to go hiking because some robbers were in Cam's Way, and it's just you have to worry about getting mugged on the trail. It's I don't know, takes a bit of fun away from the hikes, I think.
To say the least.
Huh?
To say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit of our dilemma here.
There are groups of people, maybe up to 4, who hide in those mountains and who might rob you when you're on your own. We've been warned by this by our own Airbnb host. So that was something from the beginning that we were scared of, and probably for good reason.
Yeah, it's just a bummer, because you have all of this natural beauty and we have the mountain right in front of us, and I would have run there every day.
Right?
And we haven't gone there once because it's kind of I don't know, do you want to take a second phone with you? Do you want to not take your watch because maybe your watch gets stolen? I was actually thinking of buying a second watch, but then it's kind of okay, are you taking this watch just in case you get mugged?
And in Cape Town, these are not just, very extreme examples of what might happen. In the 2.5 months that we've lived here, there have been multiple reports of people getting stabbed, people getting robbed. I've heard multiple stories from other nomads who had a bad experience taking an Uber and getting mugged in the Uber. So I think the safety concerns in Cape Town are definitely real. And it is, for me at least, but I guess this depends on your sensitivity level. This is something constantly in the back of your mind. And that is why it impacts your freedom of movement. For example, there are many solo travelers in this city as well, who move by themselves, who take Ubers by themselves, maybe not at night, but during the day. I've heard people doing that and being fine. But for us as a couple, I would never feel that comfortable to go around the city by myself. Also because even if I just go by foot and avoid taking the Ubers, we've had some really sketchy experiences, even in this neighborhood, Sea Point, which is, allegedly one of the safest neighborhoods to live in. Basically, to sum it up, there are certain rules to live by here. You don't really leave your house at night. You can take Ubers, but you always have, your guard up about is the Uber driving the right route? Always know where you're going, that kind of stuff. And that just restricts how free you feel to move around in the city. Yeah. Right?
And from what I've seen on comments about stuff happening, it's no matter what happens, it's always your own fault, because clearly you should have known everything, because everyone knows you can't go there.
Yeah.
Because once that happens, it's of course it's not safe there. So why did you go there? I would prefer to just be able to walk around. We haven't taken our camera out more than once, basically. So it's kind of
because what do you risk when you take that camera out,
I mean, not just the camera being stolen, right?
The experience.
Also, the traumatizing experience of your camera getting mugged, or maybe you even just get killed. I mean, there's been stories of people just breaking car windows, like, so yeah.
So with that context, you have to ask yourself, coming here, will you be able to relax to the extent that you need to enjoy living here, you know? And for us, I'm very much on the fence about it. I'm a bit more of a sensitive person, so this kind of stuff is always in the back of my mind. It's not really relaxing for me. But I think there are some really important points that we have to make here as well, which is, this is again where our subjective experience comes in, because we are not used to this level of insafety. People who grow up here are used to this, and they might find this normal. So you can't always count on advice from locals about what to do, what not to do, which is what you just said as well. So to sum it up, I would say that in a lot of places in Cape Town, I think you are safer than you might think or feel. But in a lot of other places, you are much less safe than you might think. And it's really hard for people coming from the outside to figure out, where is that line? Well, now that we've covered some of the basic safety feeling that we've had here in Cape Town, let's move on to the next point, which I think might be one of the most important points to make about Cape Town, that will put a lot of things into perspective. One point that I really want to stress is that our feeling of unsafety in the neighborhoods that we move around in is nothing compared to what a lot of people living in this city experience on a day-to-day basis when it comes to violence. Cape Town, for a long time already, is known, also statistically, as one of the most violent places in the world. Because we live in the safe neighborhoods, we are kind of shielded from that. But once you cross the mountains and go to the other side, to the areas of Cape Town that we are not supposed to go to,
all around the airport,
it's like a different life. People there are really suffering. They're so used to violence, to the point that there are shootings almost every single day.
If you want to go to the airport, you basically go on the highway and nowhere else, because it's like with like a red dot per person that died in the neighborhood. It's just like, wow.
And we don't have to go into this in detail, because there are many really good documentaries and stories covered on YouTube that show this other side of Cape Town. So I think now we're kind of getting to like the crux of all of this, which is one of the things that we found difficult about living here is realizing that reality, which really ultimately comes down to Cape Town being an extremely unequal place. South Africa in general consistently ranks in the world lists as one of the most unequal places when it comes to income inequality. And given the history of apartheid in this country, which was a regime that ended, only 30 years ago, one generation, this period in time, the people who were in charge deliberately shaped the city in a way that separated people based on their racial background. And it's not strange that only 30 years later, those patterns still exist, So when you talk about income inequality in Cape Town or in South Africa in general, though that inequality is often going along racial lines because of the history. And it's painful to witness that, to be aware of that, and to live in it. The inequality is very much visible. So where you live in this city determines a lot about what opportunities you can get and what kind of things you can access, right? So to bring this back to the whole like cosmopolitan city lifestyle that you can possibly get here in Cape Town, a large part of Cape Town's own inhabitants do not have access to this kind of lifestyle, right? It is a very privileged thing to be able to live in Sea Point like we do and enjoy this lovely beach lifestyle, and all the opportunities there are to grow from here. So I would say that Cape Town is like a place of huge opportunity. And that's why so many people are drawn to this city to enjoy them. But this opportunity is not equally divided among all the people that are in this area. So I think at this point, it might be really difficult to imagine what this is like, right? To live here, really. So maybe we can give an example. And this is a little bit of a sensitive issue, but I still want to mention this because if you're planning to come to Cape Town to live here for a while, for example, in Sea Point where we live, this is something that you should know about, which is Sea Point basically, and other parts of Cape Town as well, have a huge homelessness problem. For example, when we walk from our back door to the beach, which is a 10-minute walk, you will probably encounter anywhere between 3 to 10 unhoused people. People who are living on the street, who don't have a place to stay, who are struggling to live, basically, to exist. And many of them will appeal to you, especially if you look like us, like tourists, for money, for food, for water, for anything that you can spare. And one thing I've noticed about living here is that after a while, you kind of, become a sort of hardened version of yourself. Because the advice that locals give us about the unhoused population is to simply ignore them and not interact. But when there are so many interactions happening around you, ignoring those people, it almost feels like inhumane to do so. And
Yeah.
it is really difficult for me to not help someone, I guess, or even just ignore a human being.
Yeah, you just become a worse version of yourself, I think. I just don't like how I have to behave here. And I'm also thinking that, like, it's just homeless people, they just ask you for money and they don't do anything, which is very, very likely true. But you're also being told that, well, don't go out at night because the homeless people will mug you or something. So it's kind of like you just have no idea what you're actually supposed to do. I don't
Yeah.
know. We've literally haven't been outside at night here. I don't know what you're supposed to do. You see people sleeping on the street the whole time. To us, that's not that normal. I've seen homeless people in Germany, of course, but I mean,
Yeah.
the numbers are
I
pretty
mean,
staggering here.
they are very concentrated in certain areas, mostly the ones where tourists and nomads live, because I guess those people are not as hardened yet as the Cape Townians, and they sometimes give.
Did you get?
Did you give? At the end of the day, it's not really about our discomfort. It's just that we wanted to let you know that that is also a reality of living in Cape Town. And I think an important question that we should ask as travelers is also, can you really call a city a best city in the world when clearly there are still so many people also suffering here?
Yeah.
That is just my critical review of this acclaimed title.
And we just don't like, I mean, it sounds very complainy maybe, but in the end, you don't want to just paint like the positive things, right? You just want to
Yeah.
give like the whole experience. And I mean, I could imagine coming back here. I would probably not go to Sea Point, but other than that, I think it has a lot of ups. It has quite some downs too.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up for us. Let's end on the final topic of this video. At the end of the day, I think what makes a place great to live is how you feel there, and whether your quality of life is the way you want it to be. Quality is qualitative. It's not something you can really measure, no matter what those, you know, worldwide lists try to tell us. It's about how you feel there. In terms of cost of living, which is a point that many people review, I don't find it that interesting because, first of all the information is already out there on YouTube or the internet about how much it costs to live in Cape Town. And I wouldn't say Cape Town is an affordable place to live. Maybe to some, you know, Americans or Australians. But overall, what you pay for an apartment here is very much the same price, if not more, as the cost of a place in big European cities.
For short-term rentals, right? I mean, if you find like, if you're not in Sea Point directly, I think you can find definitely more affordable things. You wouldn't be able to live this affordably in Berlin or...
That's a good point. There are interesting suburbs in Cape Town to live in.
They're
where
also part of
life
the
is more
city.
affordable.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the money you put in each month to live somewhere should reflect some sort of, you know, value. What value are you getting for the money that you pay? That's the question, right? And I think after we've gone through all of these amazing, you know, upsides about living in this city, and also some of the serious downsides, eventually it's up to you whether that altogether makes your quality of life great or not, and whether that's worth the money you're spending.
Yeah.
So to sum all of this up, I think Cape Town is a great like stepping stone of a city for some amazing experiences. The things you can do here are amazing. The sun is shining, you know, the beach is right there. It's definitely, when it comes to quality of life, very high compared to maybe where we are from in winter.
Yeah.
But there are also some significant downsides, which we hope we covered with respect and sensitivity, that also influenced the way we feel or felt when living in this city, and that ultimately made us decide to go back to Asia, our second home, Thailand. So we're actually on our last day in Africa for now. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, in like 24 hours we might be gone.
We're flying to Bangkok tomorrow. This was a bit of a more unusual video, kind of a review of a place, but we will return to our usual travel vlogs very soon. If you want to come along to Asia again with us, don't forget to subscribe. Please leave a comment if you have a question or you have something to say about, you know, our points. We would love to have a discussion or answer your questions. And
see you in Asia.
bye.
Bye bye.